In July 2023, a family lunch in rural Australia ended with 3 people dead, and a mystery so bizarre it gripped an entire nation. At the center of it all, Erin Patterson, a woman who now finds herself under a global spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Erin Patterson lived in Leongatha, a quiet, close-knit town about 2 hours southeast of Melbourne, a place where people left their doors unlocked and everyone knew everyone's business. Erin, 48 years old, was a writer, a mother of 2, and had recently separated from her husband, Simon Patterson. Despite the split, she kept relatively cordial relations with Simon's family, particularly his parents, Gail and Don Patterson. On July 29, 2023, Erin decided to host a lunch at her home. She invited her former in-laws, Gail and Don, as well as Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson, and Heather's husband, Ian Wilkinson. It was supposed to be a simple family gathering, but what unfolded was something that no one could have possibly expected. On the menu that day was beef Wellington, a classic dish made of steak, duxelles mushrooms, and puff pastry, according to reports. Erin allegedly used a mix of mushrooms, button mushrooms bought from a local supermarket, and others described as dried mushrooms she claimed were purchased from an Asian grocery store. Months earlier, unbeknownst to her guests, some of these mushrooms were later suspected to be death cap mushrooms, one of the most lethal fungi in the world. Just a single cap is enough to kill an adult after the meal. Everyone felt fine at first, but within hours, all 4 guests began to experience violent symptoms: nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, classic signs of severe food poisoning. Initially, doctors thought it was a case of bad food, but as the symptoms worsened, it became clear this wasn't ordinary food poisoning. This was something far, far more sinister. Gail and Don Patterson both died in the hospital within days. Heather Wilkinson also succumbed shortly after. Miraculously, Ian Wilkinson survived, but only after being placed in a medically induced coma and undergoing an emergency liver transplant. Police were immediately called in, given the bizarre circumstances: 3 deaths, 1 survivor, and an unusual meal at the center of it all. Homicide detectives launched a full-scale investigation. Initially, Erin Patterson told authorities that she, too, had eaten the beef Wellington, but claimed she suffered only mild symptoms and didn't require hospitalization. This immediately raised red flags. How could she have eaten the same dish and walked away almost completely unscathed? Investigators searched Erin's home, seizing food dehydrators, kitchen equipment, and electronic devices. One key piece of evidence, a food dehydrator found in a nearby landfill, allegedly thrown away by Erin in the days following the lunch. She claimed she panicked after seeing how sick her guests had become. Police later confirmed that the symptoms experienced by the victims matched death cap mushroom poisoning almost perfectly. The toxin involved, amatoxin, attacks the liver and kidneys, and is almost always fatal without immediate treatment. Adding to the mystery, Erin made a public statement, describing herself as devastated by the deaths and insisting she had no motive whatsoever to harm her guests. She even described Gail as like a second mother to her, and said she loved the Wilkinsons dearly. Despite this, detectives noted inconsistencies in her story, including whether her children, who were allegedly served a different meal, ate any of the beef Wellington. It was also revealed that Simon Patterson, Erin's estranged husband, had suffered a mysterious health scare himself the year prior, where he ended up in intensive care for an apparent gastrointestinal illness. At the time, it was chalked up as bad luck. But in light of the mushroom deaths, authorities began re-examining everything. As of now, Erin Patterson has not been formally charged with murder. She has been charged with multiple counts related to recklessness and endangerment. But the murder investigation is ongoing. Online, theories exploded. Was it a deliberate act, a horrific accident, or something even stranger? Some believed Erin might have wanted reconciliation with Simon and viewed his parents as obstacles. Others speculated it was a tragic mistake, perhaps confusing death caps for edible mushrooms. Adding fuel to the fire, locals reported that Erin had some basic gardening knowledge, raising even more suspicion about whether she could have identified wild mushrooms correctly. The truth, it's still unfolding, and whether Erin Patterson is a cold-blooded murderer or the unluckiest host in Australian history remains to be seen. At the end of the day, 3 lives were lost, families were shattered, and an entire country was left asking, how could something as innocent as a family lunch turn into a triple homicide investigation? And more importantly, what secrets are still hiding beneath the surface?